Hey, good morning, everybody. To respect everybody's time this morning, we'll get started. My name is Trent Gervais. I'm the President, CEO of the Limix Group and the General Manager of Peterborough Airport. And it is my pleasure today to facilitate our 6th Annual Aerospace Summit here in Peterborough at the airport. Some great speakers lined up for this morning. Before we get started, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. So we respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. In addition, we recognize the principles contained in our Constitution and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This morning, I'd like to welcome our city mayor and council, and as well Peterborough County mayors, deputy mayors, and councils that have signed up to attend this morning, and all the attendees that have taken the time to once again hear about the exciting world of aviation aerospace here at the airport and in the region. Today's a great day. We're not here to talk about COVID or anything negative. There's a lot of exciting things happening, as mentioned, and today we hope to provide you with an update on the current state of aviation and aerospace, and as well look at cutting edge events and research that's underway. Peterborough Airport provides over $80 million in GDP locally here in the region each year, with over 400 employees working here on the airport each and every day. Aerospace supply chain, research and development, manufacturing, and the list goes on, continues to grow within the region. We're very proud of our partnerships with universities and colleges, including Fleming College and Seneca here on the airport campus. So enjoy your morning coffee and listen to our dynamic lineup, and we're happy to hear from you throughout the presentations as well. This time I'd like Kyle to say some welcomes.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Kyle Bruce, Airport Superintendent with the Peterborough Airport. The mayor hasn't quite made it yet, so I'm going to hand it over to Suzanne to introduce our keynote speaker.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is going to be a great morning. Really looking forward to this. My name is Suzanne McCrimmon, and I am the Director of Business Development for Peterborough and the Quartus Economic Development. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Brandon Robinson, who is the CEO and co-founder of Horizon Aircraft and has been recently appointed president of Astra Aerospace. Currently, Brandon is focused on leading the Astra Aerospace multi-product offering in the advancement air mobility sector, building a better future of aviation. Prior to his successful launch of Horizon Aircraft, Brandon flew CF-18s in the Royal Canadian Air Force for nearly 20 years and had the distinction of having graduated from the Canadian version of Top Gun. Upon retirement from the Canadian Air Force, Brandon decided to pursue his passion for aerospace. Horizon Aircraft was born out of a family-owned high-tech aerospace company that was designing a revolutionary new electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, a design for which Brandon successfully co-authored one of the core patents. Brandon earned his mechanical engineering degree from the Royal Military College in Kingston, Ontario, and has his MBA from the Royal Roads University in Victoria, BC. Welcome, Brandon, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All right, well, thanks, Suzanne. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Trent, for organizing this and everyone that helped. Kyle, your whole team there. I think the first thing we'll say is that we're honored to have this invite. We've been very fortunate to be connected with the folks at YPQ and everyone doing some fantastic work there. And I think this will be a story about some pretty exciting stuff happening right here in our backyard. So without further ado, I will share my screen and someone give me the thumbs up when you can see my fancy PowerPoint. Kyle, thank you. Okay, awesome. So you heard about Horizon Aircraft. That was a company that myself and my father co-founded back in 2013. And then they're recently acquired Astra Aerospace. So now, officially under the Astra Aerospace umbrella, so Canadian-owned, a wholly owned Canadian subsidiary of Astra Aerospace. And this presentation will be about how we're building a better future right here in our backyard. And really, I'll try to put a spin on it to show how, I'll foot stomp this. We're trying to source local, we're building local, and we plan on staying local. And obviously, Peterborough is one of those really cool places that's kind of at the center of a lot of really interesting stuff. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the people, so you'll actually care about what I'm talking about and know some of the key folks that are helping me out along the way. We'll talk about our unique problem that was arising and how we came up with a pretty cool solution, and that's the electric vertical takeoff and landing machine that we'll introduce a little bit later. And we'll talk about that technology, which I think is pretty cool for those tech people. We'll talk about some of our progress in the real world, how we're actually flying prototypes right now and where we're going in the next year to 2 years. And really, like I said, all under the umbrella of a pretty bright future locally here in Peterborough. So never give a fighter pilot a chance to talk about himself, and you guys broke that rule. So I get to talk a little bit about me, which is awesome. But I think fundamentally, all joking aside, this is a pretty cool story about a family business that really sprung out of some really cool engineering and I think a pretty on-point idea. So anyway, that's me on the left-hand side. I think I was 3 or 4 years old at that point. But honestly, I've been in airplanes. I think my first flight was officially when I was about 6 or 7 weeks old in our old family Republic CB. It's an old flying boat. You kind of know the type of aircraft, boat hull with high wings, pusher prop. Really, really versatile and interesting airplane. And that's the airplane that I first flew. I think when I was 3 years old. The story is my grandfather, who was an old World War II bomber pilot, plunked me on the seat, and standing on the seat, and he said, basically, you see that spot over there, fly to that spot. And about an hour and a half later, we arrived at that spot that was only probably about 15 minutes away. But that really ingrained sort of deeply into me that aviation world. So I grew up on the outside, but not really on the inside. And I just, gradually leveled up with the toys. So you see on the right-hand side, that's me at the CF-18. Really fortunate to have met some great friends along the way that drag me along with them. So yeah, I consider myself very fortunate. If anyone has any kids or folks that are interested in the Air Force, my email and phone is always open to those folks. Anyway, fantastic career in the Air Force. I managed to do the Top Gun course along the way, which I never want to do again, but was super awesome. Along the way, also managed to get a mechanical engineering degree and a business degree, but you guys don't really care too much about that. I say that I have a license to be dangerous in a lot of areas, so I'm not really good at any one of those things anymore, except maybe flying airplanes. So, I learned mechanical engineering, but I never really practiced it. I have an MBA, which is basically a license to be dangerous in business. And I'd say I know enough to know how much I don't know about any one of those things. But I just kind of coordinate and keep people motivated and take credit for the good stuff along the way. So it's a family endeavor. You'll see there, I work with my father and my brother-in-law. Our team's up to about 15 folks now. So these are kind of the main folks at Horizon Aircraft. The mastermind behind everything is my father, the chief engineer at Horizon Aircraft. Lifetime, I could describe him simply as sort of a mechanical engineering MacGyver of aerospace engineering. So of aerospace. Literally been building aircraft since he was in his teens. Owned and operated an aircraft for the past 50 years, and has been doing modifications to that aircraft ever since. And he was, Horizon Aircraft actually grew out of his general aviation business, where he was doing advanced modifications to a lot of aircraft. He has some deep experience in advanced manufacturing, worked for Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceuticals, where he ended up running the plant there in Peterborough for quite some time. And so everything we build actually has a good look through to how we're going to build it at scale, which is, I think, a pretty important step when you're designing a new machine. Can't say enough about him. Really just a genius sort of engineer, and that's where a lot of the really innovative ideas are coming from. Jason O'Neill, my brother-in-law, he's online, I think, today. So yeah, he's, I mean, absolutely instrumental in helping us get to where we are right now, helping us build teams. Has a deep experience in the software side, machine learning, and yeah, senior leadership strategy. Really, he's the guy that tells me quite often that we're barking up the wrong tree. And my father is not afraid to tell me that as well. So, but honestly, a pretty cool dynamic where we challenge each other and we make sure that we're always on point with our strategy and engineering. So pretty excited. And I think, like I said, a pretty cool story. So a couple of years ago, we started noticing obviously a pretty big problem. Yeah, and everyone can see it, right? Road congestion accounts for about 40% of the global transportation pollution. I didn't really realize that. 750 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent being puked into the atmosphere. You know, every year in the Air Force, we used to go down to Miramar. So famously, where Top Gun was filmed in Southern California, out of San Diego. And we take off heading west out over the ocean. And you look north towards LA and you just see like 12 lanes of stacked up traffic. Nobody's moving, everybody's frustrated, and you can see that sort of haze that's being produced by those cars. So, I mean, apart just from the amount of pollution that, you know, road congestion and, you know, overpopulation creates, it also creates frustration. And I mean, when we're talking about trying to move the planet forward, lack of progression, you know, all those hours, man hours and woman hours, people hours stuck in cars could be used to innovate and do better things. And so we have to start looking at our transportation from a sustainability perspective. And I didn't realize, of course, it's getting worse. Well, I did realize it's getting worse, but I didn't know how bad, right? So by 2050, 68% of the world's population living in urban areas. So that's adding 2.5 billion people, billion more people to cities, which is a pretty staggering number. Again, forcing us to think creatively to find new ways to help people move around and do so in a sustainable manner. And that's where urban air mobility started popping up and now called advanced air mobility. Really, you can think of it conventionally as air taxis. So low cost, quick, very safe flying machines that instead of spending, you know, an hour and a half in traffic, you spend 15 minutes in one of these air taxis. Now we got a long way to go before it's the Jetsons. But the cool thing is some of the recent advancements in battery technology, electric motor technology have now enabled some very safe and practical machines to start making that overall transportation system a lot more efficient. And it's for good reason, right? So this is my US example, so I didn't have a chance to put a Canadian example, but you know, you can think Vancouver, the same thing, anywhere where there's water and transportation difficulties. San Francisco to San Jose, for example, an hour 40 drive if you're lucky. And that's through traffic, being frustrated, potentially, you know, bumping into somebody on the way. That gets supplanted with a 15-minute electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft flight. So a typical air taxi would take about 15 minutes to do that same trip, which is pretty staggering at similar costs. And now if you think that, if you apply this idea to developing nations, you can now consider remote resupply and think of our northern areas here in Canada. Quick disaster relief if you have a very flexible machine that can take off and land like a helicopter, but maybe go twice as fast like our aircraft can. Now you can get places quickly that are in trouble. You can get critical supplies to folks, and also you can medevac folks out of you know, an accident scene or whatnot. So think during that golden hour, you can go twice as far to a hospital, or you know, with that same distance, you can get to the hospital twice as fast, and that will directly save lives, which is very cool. For those developing nations, again, leapfrogging trillions of dollars in transportation infrastructure. So why spend, you know, $10 billion on, you know, detailed road structures and keeping them up when you can build vertiports and connect those distant places with a more efficient mode of transportation. So what did we do? We started from the mission first, and we designed this machine here. So this is our Cavorite X5 electric vertical takeoff and landing machine. It's actually hybrid electric, so there is gas on board, and that gives it some pretty impressive range and speed numbers. And really, it's a new type of aircraft. So it looks normal here. It's, of course, I always got to describe it's facing us right now. It has a pusher prop, it has a canard configuration. So you see the main wings at the top of the screen and the canards kind of coming out of the nose at the bottom. You can see that the gear is down in this case and sitting in the hangar with one of our nice renderings. And that's how it enters vertical mode. So now you see the wings open, and I'll show you a video of this in a second. And this is the patented unique innovation for us that allows the aircraft to take off and land vertically when it so chooses. So those wings open kind of in two parts. The back part moves back, the forward part moves forward. Same with the canards, and it reveals an array of vertical fans in the wings. So you see those little circular holes. Obviously thrusting fans that are electrically powered, that can spin up and lift the aircraft straight off the ground, again, just like a helicopter. When the aircraft starts going forward, that rear silver propeller at the back engages, and eventually those wings and canards close back up. So en route, the aircraft is flying very much into configuration, exactly like a normal aircraft, without any fancy sort of rotors in the main wind stream. And that's how you get going so fast. And that is, again, one of the patents that we've successfully put through. It can carry about 1,100 pounds and go pretty quick. So 240 knots is about 270 miles an hour. So 450 kilometers an hour top speed. We'd probably cruise a little less than that, but for a top speed, that's pretty impressive. And 300 nautical miles are about 500 kilometers, 550 kilometers with full reserves. It carries, obviously many patents locking down its unique IP. It carries 5 people, so 1 pilot up front, and then there's a little barrier, and then 4 passengers in the back. And the whole thing is based around safety and rugged operations. And like I said, it's powered by a hybrid electric drive, which can recharge its batteries in flight. So the idea is it can take off, which is very demanding on the system, using battery power, and also some electric power from a generator in the hybrid electric system. And en route, once it's back in its normal aircraft configuration, that generator on the hybrid main power system can recharge the batteries to get ready for landing. Also, if you think you can land in a remote area, now as long as you have gas at that remote area, you don't necessarily have to have electric plug-in, it can recharge itself. So no longer are you bound to fly from charging station to charging station. And that just really starts to fit in with its overall mission objectives, where you can fly to some remote area, land, keep the main power system running, recharge all of the batteries, and get ready to go for your next flight. Pretty exciting. So you can see that speed and that range, much quicker than a helicopter, much lower operating costs. And this is how it works. So pictures worth 1,000 words, videos worth more than that, so 10 to the 6 words or whatever. And here it is in its normal aircraft configuration, just like you saw in the first slide. Obviously, in flight, the gear would be up, but otherwise, this is how it looks when it's flying en route. When it wants to go into vertical mode, there we go. Wings open up. And yeah, the vertical thrusting fans engage, and now you can hover, land, again, basketball court, anywhere that it's a prepared surface, helipad. Offload your supplies or people, onload your critically injured soldiers or critically injured personnel or goods or whatnot, take off vertically, and then transition back to forward flight in a really sort of efficient manner. Pretty unique design, and I think in the vertical takeoff and landing space, this is one of a kind, and we're pretty excited. So that begs the question, where are we, right? Are we a bunch of, just really fancy renderings? The answer is no. So a bunch of really good engineering has come out of our team, which we're building very quickly now. And we're flying a bunch of subscale prototypes. So 17% scale prototype has completed 250 successful flights. And our 50% scale, so a 20-foot wingspan, 400-pound, much larger machine, will be flying in Q1 of 2022. So honestly, in a few months, the bigger machine will be flying. And that is, we're already putting parts together, doing tests on that 50% scale. So a bunch of real world progress from a really cool and really talented team, which we're excited about. And it's all happening right here in our backyard. So that's something a lot of people do not realize. So Canada has a very proud aerospace history, and we're very fortunate to be able to kind of, get back to our roots when it comes to that. So we are, again, a wholly owned subsidiary, but we're staying in Canada. We're building things in Canada. We're employing Canadians, and we're pretty stoked about that. And furthermore, we're using local supply chain to the max degree possible. Now, if COVID has taught us anything, It's that the system, the global supply system, is a little more fragile. The more efficient things get, sometimes the more fragile they get. Supply chains get stretched. Trying to reach for the gradual race to the bottom with the lowest cost possible parts. And I think that our strategy to keep things local, source as close to home as possible, has not only facilitated our rapid development of the prototypes and our engineering, it's also saved us time and saved us money, to be quite frank. So if you have a bunch of engineers on board and in your supply chain, because you're trying to save 20% on a part, delays a critical part for 2 weeks, now you have a bunch of engineers doing nothing for 2 weeks. It's actually more expensive to have a cheaper supply chain from a certain perspective. And so we're very proud to have kept things local, supplied everything, again, very close to home. And that applies to obviously the workforce that we're trying to build as well. So we're kind of 15-ish people right now, lots of engineers, and we're hopefully adding another 15 to 20 over the next 12 months. Again, really high-tech, interesting jobs, working on leading edge equipment right here in our backyard. So I think that's a pretty cool story. And we talked to the folks at Peterborough, Suzanne. I mean, we've been there, and the story of obviously we'll need to expand our infrastructure, and there's a lot of potential for a place like Peterborough. Again, so we're quite excited about that. So kind of jumped ahead a slide here, growing the business. So there's been many local and government partners in support of our vision. Again, I'd like to highlight Suzanne and the folks at Peterborough, the Peterborough Innovation Cluster. So John Gillis and Mike Skinner, I don't know if they're online. Just an outstanding group of individuals supporting local innovation, supporting local startups. And I think really gaining some momentum, and definitely proud to be a part of that as well. So again, we're trying to add another maybe 20 high-tech jobs over the next year. Doug Armstrong has also been very supportive of getting us, employing some youth employment programs, and accessing some government support for a company like ours that is really trying to, do some good things for the local area. And that's it. So pretty exciting from my perspective. Again, some fantastic engineering, really cool product being built here in our backyard. And once again, I'd just like to thank everyone for helping us out along the way. I mentioned some folks without whom we wouldn't be here, and really appreciate the opportunity to speak here at the Aerospace Summit. So thank you.
Thanks, Brendan. Incredible adventure you have on the go, and we can't wait to see it definitely flying here in Peterborough. Is there any questions for Brandon? If you could use your raise hand function, we'd love you to pick his brain a little bit on this venture and how it fits into our local economy. Any questions for Brandon?
Thanks, Trent. Somebody's got to have a question for sure. And also happy to take them offline too. If you want to email me, brandon@horizonaircraft.com. If you don't want to speak up, that is, I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions by email as well.
Sure, thank you. I think Pam Stoneham, do you have a question? Lisa, if I could get you to identify if anybody has a question. It looks like maybe Pam has her hand up, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, able to unmute myself. This was really exciting to see. Thank you so much for Brandon sharing it and Trent for making it possible for us to know. So I'm the Dean of Trades and Technology at Fleming College, and knowing that you have opportunities in the future for technologists or technicians, do you consider that there's a space for college graduates as opposed to all engineers?
So great question, Pam. And the answer is absolutely there is a place. So we're very fortunate to have hooked up with Fleming College. So Faridun Deba there, he is, we've already successfully submitted one grant application. We're working on another one right now. I think it's submitted. And he's helped us out with 3D printing, a lot of analysis. We've connected with folks at UOIT, and we told him to keep an eye out for his sharpest students going through. to absolutely employ some of those in our growing team. And so again, Doug Armstrong, we worked through the innovation cluster and Doug Armstrong in particular to engage the youth employment program. And it's, you know, it started off a little slow, but we're trying to get there. But yeah, so the short answer to the question is absolutely, Pam, and we're pretty excited about it. Oh, we got a question in the chat, I think.
Hi there, this is Oliver Fuchs. I just was asked to unmute myself, so I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. So I'm curious about the Astro Aerospace Horizon merger. Is it just Horizon projects business as usual, or is there the opportunity for more work to come to Peterborough through that acquisition? Like new projects from Astro?
Yeah, another great question. And so Astro Aerospace has 3 products now. So their Elroy program, so it's your typical like octocopter, pure electric vertical takeoff and landing machine. It actually flew back in 2018, carrying folks fully autonomously. And so that's one product. They have another Alta sort of cargo carriage, pure electric VTOL that they're working on as well, that we're working on. And so there's definitely a potential to expand some of the work up here, since, you know, we're conducting a significant portion of the engineering in Astro Aerospace writ large. So Horizon Aircraft is kind of the engineering muscle right now. It's not totally true, but we're conducting the majority of the engineering. And so it's very natural that some of those other projects will require some work, and that work could be done up here as well. So great question. And I think, again, from that perspective, the future is pretty positive as well.
That's great. Thanks for the question for Brandon. Another question in the chat is, when do you think this type of transport will be a reality?
And so the Jetsons flying over downtown Toronto type of reality, that might take another decade or so. The reality is, though, that these machines will be used in prescribed routes, just due to their, honestly, just due to their efficiency, their low cost, and their capability, starting very soon. So the first electric vertical takeoff and landing machines will be certified in 2022 or 2023, working with the, you know, a bunch of folks working with the FAA down south, have their initial certification frameworks already approved. EASA over in Europe is doing the same thing. And the initial routes that open up won't be necessarily right over densely populated folks, but they will serve a more regional function. And so that is, you know, routes that are established that won't overfly densely populated areas, connecting, you know, potentially you know, more distant regional nodes in a cargo network, for example. Maybe it's high value medical transport, so organs or radioactive isotope transport amongst, you know, hospitals at the periphery of a densely populated area or city. Again, medevac is another early mission that's fantastic. If you're saving lives and you're transporting folks to hospitals, you know, not necessarily right over downtown, I think that's a very natural mission, for early mission, I should say, for some of these machines. So again, the short answer to a much more detailed, longer question is that, yeah, I mean, we'll start seeing these machines starting in, you know, next year or the year after, in a very sort of limited capacity, and then there's going to be some rapid growth thereafter.
That's awesome. So about 10 years before we can jump in one of these things and go to Starbucks and come back in a few minutes.
Well, again, it's a complicated question, because now there's actually routes that are being established. You know, a lot of them overfly water, sort of in those complicated, you know, San Francisco Bay Area, or maybe in a Vancouver Island type of scenario where you'd be taking a ferry instead. And so now you'd have maybe an electric vertical takeoff and landing route that is a very low risk route from an aerospace management perspective. And so those routes may be established in the next couple of years. Yeah, but in terms of, you know, seeing 1,000 of these things buzzing around just like the Jetsons, it'll be 5 to 10 years over the major populated centers again. But by that time, they'll be ubiquitously used in a lot of different areas that are very carefully calculated.
Sure, awesome. Thanks. So next question in the chat is related to supply chain. You talked about local supply chain. Can you talk about what your envisioned needs for 12 to 24 months and longer term?
Yeah, so I mean, we're already sourcing a lot of parts already. So building composite components, buying 3D printing machines and CNC machines. So from the in the short term, there'll be, I guess you can really broadly put it into 3 categories. So structures, electric components, and software. So from a structure side, all of the raw materials, we do our own layups in carbon composite and glass composite. But when we get too busy to do them all ourselves, like a Lake Central or a local, agile manufacturing up in Uxbridge, there's a bunch of really cool local spots that will look to source some of those structural components as well, which just makes sense. From an electrical component perspective, again, lots of really cool distributors in the area. So working through Canadian distributors to source batteries and electric motors, wiring, motor controllers, that sort of thing. And then on the software side, again, looking to connect with, and we already have connected with some folks locally here to help us out with the software monster to put it all together. So hopefully that answers your question. So the answer is yes, it's already happening, and it's just going to ramp up over the next 12 to 24 months.
Fantastic. Final question for you, Brandon. We'll get you off the hot seat. Have you engaged Transport Canada with respect to certification requirements, and do you communicate with them regularly on this project?
So the answer is no, just to be very straightforward. But we're going to initiate contact very shortly. Now, I've talked informally to some of my buddies at Transport Canada. There's a lot of really positive things from a certification standard that I think are happening. Again, certification frameworks are being approved in the US, over in Europe as well. And from our perspective, in our machine particularly, the fact that it flies like a normal aircraft for 98% of its mission is a pretty powerful thing from a certification perspective, because it starts from a known place, right? So certification frameworks are built currently to certify aircraft, normal looking aircraft, normal flying aircraft. And so the addition of our vertical takeoff and landing capability in our particular machine is just an added layer of safety from a certain perspective. Of course, there'll be challenges to certify, but we don't see any major roadblocks. We're going to engage Transport Canada formally once we have our 50% scale aircraft up and flying, and we transition over to full court press on putting our full scale machine together.
Very exciting. Thanks so much for your time today, Brandon. We're looking forward to having you back next year to see where the project's at. So thanks so much. One thing that's exciting to me is I always use this line: there are optimists and pessimists in aviation. The optimists invented the airplane, and the pessimists invented the parachute. So thank you, Brandon, for being that optimist to help us lean forward with aviation and aerospace. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Trent. Appreciate it.
Our next speaker is Kyle Bruce, that's going to provide an update for us on Peterborough Airport, which is always an exciting topic for me. So Kyle has recently joined the city of Peterborough as the airport superintendent, returning to Peterborough Airport after 6 years. During this period, he worked for Ontario's remote airports office, where he led and oversaw the operations at 29 airports across Northern Ontario in various roles, including airport zone manager, head of regulatory compliance, and manager of remote airports. Kyle has extensive operational knowledge of Canadian aviation regulations, airport operational safety programs, and has managed several complex airport construction projects. He has over 12 years in airport and operations and management, leading diverse teams to achieve a high level of performance. Kyle also holds a private pilot license. Welcome, Kyle.
Great. Thanks very much, Trent. Just before I get started, I'd like to welcome Councillor Stephen Wright on behalf of Council and the
Good morning, Kyle, Trent. With the recent establishment of the Airport Strategic Initiative, this year's Aerospace Summit is even more exciting for the city than it has been in previous years. Knowing and seeing and listening to all of the participants this year present some really amazing ideas as to what can happen at the airport. So on behalf of the city of Peterborough, her worship, who was unable to join the call because of technical issues, we're quite excited about this particular Aerospace Summit.
Great. Thanks very much, Councillor Stephen. Just bear with me for a moment while I get to that. So thanks everybody for making it out today. Lots of exciting things on the go and other great presentations coming up. So I just want to take this time to provide an overview on the airport, work through a bit of history and some of our capital initiatives and an update on our business. There's, you can see our airport there. We have a 7,000 foot by 100 foot width. Code 4 runway is what it's classified as, and it's non-instrument. Our secondary runway is Code 1, and its design aircraft is a Beechbaron. Our primary runway, the design aircraft is 737-800 series, as well as it can handle the Airbus 320 series as well, just to give an idea. The aircraft weights are in the range of 180,000 pounds, and certainly our aprons, parking areas can support that as well. So as part of the airport, just want to give a bit of background on myself. So I actually am a graduate of the Georgian College program at Barrie. It's an aviation management. And I joined the airport in late 2008. And over that period, kind of grew with the airport throughout the development from 2008 to 15. Lots of changes over that period and great things that happened. I moved on, you could say I migrated north and I spent my time working with the Remote Airports Office, managing remote airports. 29, there's 25 that have access via winter road only. So a lot of unique operating challenges with that environment. So just recently migrated back south, and that was just this past summer. So I'm just getting back into the groove and learning about all the great things that changed over that period. So just a background on our governance, the airport's owned by the city of Peterborough. We are under the City Division of Infrastructure and Planning Services. The airport's managed and operated by the Lumex Group. We've got a long-standing agreement with our operator, who's been running the airport since 2012. As a certified airport in Canada, we're regulated by Transport Canada and legislated through the Aeronautics Act. So we're required to adhere to certain applicable Canadian aviation regulations and standards. As part of the staff at the airport, we have 2 city staff located at the airport, myself and an administrative assistant. And primary functions of my role relate to business development, ongoing promotion of the airport, ensuring compliance with a variety of regulations and standards, not just related to airports, but also other environmental, health and safety and things like that. I also administer functions related to project management, delivery of the capital program, budgeting, financial management, as well as administering the airport operations contract. So as Stephen mentioned, there's a new Airport Strategic Initiatives Committee that commenced, and we're looking forward to just commenced past week, first meeting. we're looking forward to our discussion on how to position the airport for future growth. The airport in the past, it was developed in the late 60s. The airport areas was 2,000-foot runway was created. Later in the later part of the 60s, the city purchased the airport from a private individual where they constructed a 5,000-foot runway. At this time, the airport was noted as a key to commercial and industrial development in the area. It's most important to the development of Peterborough. That was from the local MP at the time. At the opening, there was 2,000 people that joined. And so we just want to overview some of the growth over the past 10 years or so, just to understand where we're positioned today and how we're planning to move forward. As part of 2008, the city recognized the opportunity for growth, approved a multi-year development program valued around approximately $7 million. Part of this plan created an area for general aviation development, which you can see on the right side of the photo with the blue hangars are located. It's also a apron expansion, our primary apron industrial area to the north. Following that, the business case was created and supporting master plan. Business case highlighted key potential markets for the airport, including maintenance, repair, and overhaul, engine overhaul facilities, aviation education, and aerospace manufacturing. The master plan highlighted short, medium, and long-term initiatives to meet future demand. The outlook for that was around 20 years. That plan being 2009, we're halfway through that. It's essentially you could say we're on target with what the plan had proposed. In 2010, that's when the airport went through a extensive development. That was through collaboration with city investment, provincial, and the federal government. The airport was extended, the runway was extended by 2,000 feet, and the pavement structure upgraded to handle our current design aircraft today. Later in 2013, Seneca College relocated to the airport, and, prompting a new phase of development for construction of a crosswind runway, taxiway extension, and development of a private apron. Later in 2017, a strategic airport development plan, essentially another version of the master plan, was created, and that really validated the progress and direction of the airport over the past number of years. It highlighted a GDP growth averaging approximately 7% per year from 2008 to 16. It also reviewed the 2019 business case recommendations and strategic objective, highlighting the focus for the airport's growth, as indicated on the slides. The primary areas it did highlight, and there was others for further investigation. General aviation being a core piece of the airport, repair, maintenance, overhaul, manufacturing. These are the executive charter markets, which Stewart will provide some information later today, as well research development. Over the past few years, the airports joined the Southern Ontario Airport Network. We're one of 12 members in Southern Ontario that's focused on capturing growth of Pearson. This network is promoting aviation in Southern Ontario. Things have slowed down in the past year and expected to pick up with Pearson regaining traffic. In Southern Ontario, the population is expected to reach 50 million by 2043. The total GDP output is in the range of 1 trillion. And this regional growth is expected to drive aviation demand. Certainly Peterborough being located between Ottawa and Toronto, and just north of our neighbors in the States, we're positioned centrally to a number of major aviation hubs. This airport network represents over 55,000 jobs in the aviation industry in Southern Ontario. And essentially, the focus is as Pearson grows, the growth, it's collaborating with the airports in the region to capture growth and different industries to support the aviation network as a whole. When we look at our field, we have room for growth. We have 18 acres of land that's shovel ready for development with services that are able to connect to. Future development, we have 48 acres that we have positioned that can be expanded in the future. So outside of that, there's medium and longer term plans that support more areas for growth. So part of our focus is positioning the airport to participate in the growth of aviation and industry in Southern Ontario. Just to have a look at the area, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at for those that haven't been able to visit our airport. You can see the areas next to what we call Apron 1. We have our commercial industrial area. The roadway on the left side of the screen, that's Airport Road. And to the left is our industrial area. Over to the right, where general aviation hangars are, is the, we have approximately 30 private hangars there. So since 2008, there's been approximate value of 43 million that's been invested in the airport, including 15 million from provincial and federal governments. There's been an increase of over 200 FTEs, full-time positions at the airport over that time. And there's approximately 30 of those general aviation hangars have been constructed over that period. So the change from GDP from 2009 to 16 is estimated from 43 million to 73 million. It's direct output, indirect and direct GDP for the airport. Just to give you an idea of the ownership that we have, this picture is a little bit outdated. It doesn't have the flying colors taxiway India construction on the right, but part of that area on top right or northeast side of the screen is what we have positioned for future industrial development. Some exciting changes that happened over the past couple of years. Certainly Kate will be able to share some information on the Flying Colors new facility. Servicing was connected to the east side of Airport Road. As part, a water fire reservoir was constructed, which is a water tower to increase fire response capacity. Both of our runways, the displacements were removed to make the landing surfaces usable for full length, which increases capacity for landing aircraft. It's, new construction of Apron 4 and Taxiway India, and that's adjacent to the two new Flying Colors buildings, as well as we had installation of backup gas-powered generators. So essentially our airfield circuits, our operations center, and our terminal building are all on backup power. Being natural gas is excellent redundancy opposed to diesel. When you do get into certain events, diesel is typically hard to come by in these situations if it's wide scale. Some other exciting things that are on the move right now is we're working with our city GIS team to utilize LiDAR data, apply that to obstacle management vicinity of our airport. Part of this is rendering 3D models, applying different surfaces that we can proactively get ahead of natural growth around our field, as well as provide oversight to ensure no new obstacles are constructed. There's a lot of great work going into this, and where we're positioning is to be able to do this work in-house through various tools that we can use the data to dig down and actually pull elevations and individual trees if we want to. This is part of every airport operator in Canada that's certified is required to adhere to obstacle limitation surfaces, which are defined under the standards, depending on the runway. And this is an idea of the surface below. It's a fairly complex surface. It goes around the airport to protect aircraft operations, event of failures or performance limitations. So some development projects that have been highlighted for the future include upgrade of our water and sewer services from that along Airport Road. Hydro One's planning installation of 44 kilovolt, upgrading our hydro service to enable future growth. We are looking into retrofitting our airfield lighting with LED, as well as continued development and fill in the industrial park, the east side of Airport Road. Some other items we're planning for and looking into is extension of Taxway Bravo, continued lot preparation in terms of servicing so we can meet the demand for this, businesses relocate to our airport. The survey we conducted that was conducted in the spring, we have approximately 475 positions on site at the airport. That's on an ongoing basis. Approximately 27 general aviation hangars and 16 commercial buildings on site. As Trent mentioned earlier, the business and we have a wide range of business and industry at the airport with strong roots in education, flight training, partnerships with Fleming College and Seneca, as well as a number of engineering and manufacturing companies. Some other businesses, certainly the vacation charters, where Stewart will expand on. Border Services Agency provides service to our airport. They're based out of Trenton, but have an office in our terminal building. Different operators. So the airport, we're positioned in a great spot for the future, connected to 407, Highway 407, future rail expansion to Peterborough. Essentially, these provide access to new markets, increasing our catchment area and connecting goods, people, manufacturing in the region. We're centrally positioned within the aviation industry, major hubs in the Southern Ontario network and abroad. So we're certainly excited for what the future is going to bring with more growth. And part of our plan is to be prepared for that growth, to bring those jobs and growth to the region. That's what I have this morning, and I want to thank you very much for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Kyle. It's always great to get this update every year to see that the airport is a great economic driver for the region and continues to move forward. Years ago, when we were looking at the development and the opportunities, it was plain to see, and a little bit of pun into it, that what the opportunities are and what they were back in the 60s and will continue to be. So we'd like to take some questions for Kyle about the airport, if anybody has any. I see Councillor Zippel, you have your hand up.
That was me exploring the software that I downloaded for this morning. I don't have a question. I just wasn't sure how to lower the hand. I was clicking on everything as nuclear operators tend to do. So thanks.
No worries. Thanks for being on the call today. Any other questions for Kyle with regards to the airport update?
Thanks, Trent.
Okay, thanks Kyle for your presentation. And as Kyle mentioned throughout the presentation, that the airport, if anybody hasn't visited the airport here, if you drive around, it's like a small city here in the region, and it's been incredible to see the growth over the years and how much potential there is. So I hope out of today's presentations, it'll just only enhance what the opportunities are for airport staff and others to work on to try and attract further business here at the airport. So next, I'd like to, Kyle, if you can introduce our next speaker, please.
Great, thanks, Trent. And it looks like there's a question in the chat. Are any of the plans and stats you mentioned available online? I know the master plan and 2017 business development plan can be found online. If you do require, feel free to reach out and we can direct you to those documents. And I'd like to introduce Norman Landry. He's the Executive Director with Explorer Solutions. He's a seasoned senior executive and business owner. Norman is a team leader and experienced program manager with over 35 years experience in aviation, airport management, air operations, as well as with aerospace manufacturing, testing, and certification. He has extensive experience in the management of aviation and aerospace projects and programs, planning, business development, risk management, financial arrangements, economic development, and government relations. Norman is a military veteran with 28 years in the Royal Canadian Air Force. He began his career as Director of Aircraft Maintenance and retired from the military as Director in the General. He's the Director General of the National Defense Aerospace Flight Test Center out of Cold Lake. He has successfully led and managed more than 50 multinational and multi-million-dollar test programs over the course of his career. Over the past decade, he's put in experience to the service of airports across Canada and the United States. He's been involved with all aspects of airport developments, including passenger volume forecasts, market analysis, and strategic planning. Norman is a trained project manager and holds a Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering degree from Royal Military College of Canada in Kingston, Ontario, as well as a master's degree in aerospace from Cranfield University in the United Kingdom. Norman is responsible for all airport and economic development consulting activities for the company of Explorer Solutions as the Executive Director. Norman, thanks so much, and the floor is all yours.
Kyle, thank you very much for the introduction. Everybody, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you this morning. What I want to do this morning is provide you a presentation that's aimed at providing airports with a bit of a heads up on what's coming down the pipe in terms of what the aircraft manufacturers are having their sites right now and are developing. We had a appreciation of that earlier with Brendan and the urban air mobility aircraft that Horizon is putting together. well, this is really part of the future. This is part of what airports are going to need to be prepared for. So that's what I intend to share with you this morning. It is an informal presentation. So if you have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate. And somebody just let me know if you can see this.
Yep, Norm, we can see it.
Thanks. Thank you, Lisa. So trends in aerospace and the challenges and opportunities that those trends are starting to have and will have for airports in the future. Okay, so before I go further, I just want to take a second to share with you who we are at Explorer Solutions. All of you know who the Lumix Group is. Explorer Solutions was acquired by the Lumix Group last November, about a year ago. We are a small team of very effective consultants. We have 26 years of existence. All of us, or most of us in the company, have way too many years of experience for our liking, but we do. We've been in this business for anywhere from 10, 15, 30, 35 years. So we have a good appreciation of what aviation is about, what airports are about, and what economic development is about. We have offices in Montreal, Waterloo, Peterborough. We have a U.S. company located in Plattsburgh, and we also have an affiliate company in Toulouse in France. We operate for the majority of our work, we operate under these 6 industry sectors. So obviously airports, everything that's to do with airport economics, airport development, aviation, airlines, drones. So we've put that into the same category, space. So we do a fair bit of work on the space side. We work with airports, and mostly in the US at this point, to determine where launch, both horizontal and vertical launch sites would be appropriate, and to help the airports certify those launch sites. It's a big business that's developing. It's there's as I'm sure you are well aware, the space, the hunt for space is very much democratized right now. It's privatized, and a lot of small companies are working at putting satellites, nano satellites, in orbit using small launchers that can be launched from many sites that are not necessarily that don't necessarily have the magnitude of a Cape Canaveral, for instance. So we are involved also in economic development. We work with aerospace and manufacturing companies, and we have developed a strong knowledge of agriculture and agri-foods. And we have worked for the last 5 years with economic development organizations, counties, and so on, to actually look at supply chains, look at creating agricultural opportunities in terms of innovation that would bring various products to be grown, and also agri-food supply chains and clusters. So what kind of services we provide in those sectors? Well, we do airport master plans, we do strategic planning, cluster development, business plans. We look at innovation strategies, investment attraction. We are strong in project management. We provide highest and best land use opportunities for the airports. Look at alternate sources of revenue. So beyond actually having air service land at an airport, there are many other ways to actually generate revenues for those airports. We do market and sector analyses, business cases, feasibility studies, community capacity, as I mentioned earlier, space launch site selection and certification, and we do compliance and audits. So if you look at the traditional sources of revenues for airport, they have two categories. One is the aeronautical revenues, and one is the non-aeronautical revenues. So the aeronautical revenue, that's everything that's on the air side of the airport. So passenger charges, landing charges, rental of terminal spaces, security parking charges, and other land use opportunities that may occur on the air side of the airport, whether they are for aeronautical companies setting up, aviation companies, maintenance companies, flight schools, that kind of stuff. On the non-aeronautical side, obviously we have retail concessions, car parking, property and real estate revenues and real estate that generate revenue from rent or land use, car rentals, utility charges, advertising. So those are all the things that we see today that provide revenues to the airport. Something maybe here that we might have or add also is revenue from fuel charges. So OEMs from around the world have, and when I say OEMs, I'm talking about aircraft manufacturers, but also all their direct support. And when I say aircraft manufacturers, today they come in all sizes. So in addition to the Airbus and Boeings of this world, we have other companies like Horizon, for instance, that approach their concepts, approach their design and their ideas under one of those 5 strategic themes. And that's how we would call sustainable and intelligent air mobility. 5 themes: decarbonization, so basically the development of sustainable aviation fuels, conversion of current fossil fuels to hydrogen propulsion, and design weight ratio reductions. All these things contribute to reducing the emission of greenhouse gases and still maintain long-term sustainability of the aviation industry. Electrification could have fallen under decarbonization, but it is a strategic theme in itself. And here we're talking about hybrid electric propulsion, pure electric propulsion, and obviously when we talk about that, we need to talk about electric storage capacity. So it's one thing to be able to come in and charge a vehicle, whether it's an air vehicle or a ground vehicle. We have to have the capacity to actually charge those capacitors from the grid and then transfer that energy to the vehicles. Automation, so whether they're UAVs, whether we're talking about artificial intelligence that will increase the capacities of the automated components, vehicles that we're looking for, and some level of robotization. Talking about digitization, so the use of big data to be able to compute large or to store and handle and manage large amount of data that will be linked through networks, so that we can help with better connectivity, safer operations of UAVs, for instance, or of coordination of aircraft as around airports, and advanced manufacturing. So obviously there's additive manufacturing. That's one part of that's growing, and that's something that's being more and more integrated into aircraft manufacturing. Sustainable and smart materials. Here we may be talking about ceramic-based material or a composite of carbon fibers, for instance, and metals that's been used in recent airplanes like the A350, for instance, the A380, and more ecological way of providing surface treatment, whether it is for engine components or landing gear components. So we'll talk today about some of these challenges and opportunities. These are the ones that have selected to talk about for as they are, in my opinion, the predominant ones in the industry right now, and those that have the most visibility. So let's talk about automation. So we already have seen an increase amount of work for robots that are working alongside people, whether they're taking physical or repetitive tasks at an airport, or whether they're providing an actual service. And here we already have examples of some of these robots that are in operations, whether it is to provide, to deliver food from an airport, a restaurant, to a client somewhere, customer somewhere, whether we have automated floor cleaning or luggage carrying capability. So that was inside the terminal, but the airport is really also a great environment where to develop, trial, test, and certify. And I'll use certify in a loose term, all the equipment that can be used to support aircraft. So whether we're talking about a remotely piloted or remotely piloted boarding bridge or an autonomous bridge, or we're talking about shuttle buses that are electric and fully automated that can move around the airport between the aircraft to the terminal or between stations on the airfield. If you look, for instance, in Louisville, Kentucky, the UPS group, they already have such a bus system for their employees. It's a huge compound complex, and that's how they move employees from their parking to their work site, because sometimes it can actually be quite far. Automated, or in this case, semi-automated tug. A number of those aircraft tractor services have been developed over the years. There are some that are fully automated that resemble the actual tow vehicles that we see today at airports. Some like these that are a little more slick, slim, and that are electric and that provide quite a bit of horsepower to actually move aircraft around. It is today possible to say that aircraft would pull off the edge of the runway where they exit, get hooked up, and be taxied using an autonomous electric system. So the technology exists. We need to trial it in a real-time environment, and as I'm sure you're aware, the aviation business is very conservative. So all these things will take a while, but all these things are actually possible right now and in development. Or whether also it is for the use of automated baggage cards. So right now in the baggage rooms of the airports, there's already a high level of automation. So as soon as you put your luggage on the conveyor, it goes down to for larger airports, of course, through a system of automated sorting system, all the way down to where they get deposited into an actual bin before they get loaded into baggage carts. Now there's also the possibility of automating the loading from that bin into the luggage carts, and then the luggage carts all the way to the aircraft. So those are all things that are in the works, coming to airports, and that will change how airports operate, their requirements in terms of control, in terms of handling of those capabilities. One of the reasons for having equipment, automated equipment operating on the airfield is to increase the level of efficiency and safety. Currently, for one part. On the other part, currently those airfield operations are very human resource dependent. So if we are able to automate a large number of those activities, then that means we reduce the number of human resources we need, the number of people we need to operate these vehicles. And also, given the fact that humans are prone to incidents and accidents, it is bound to actually increase the efficiency and the safety of those operations in the tarmac. I'll share with you here a graph from IATA for 2016, 2018. There's a lot of aircraft meet whatever ground support equipment on the ground, and that causes billions of dollars of damages every year. So here you have an example of what they are, and sometimes they are small equipment that you wonder why they would contact the airplane. Cargo loader, well, you can understand why that is more prone. So with a higher degree of automation, with the right safety measures and pieces of equipment incorporated into these equipment, then it should provide for safer operation, requiring fewer people. So digitization, so the use of cloud computing. So that cloud computing is combined with big data in terms of storage and in terms of data management. And that allows company to adopt a wider range of technologies, including machine learning, augmented and virtual reality, and all sorts of other analytics. What it allows also airports and airline companies is to use facial biometrics, so facial recognition that further reduces human interaction. So you could have somebody that has his biometrics associated with its passport, and as soon as you enter the parking or get off the bus or the taxi, you would only need your face to actually determine, and your biometrics would be linked to knowing that you have a ticket, knowing that you have a passport, and following you all the way through the various gates that you have to go through before you actually board the airplane, which would be putting your luggage down, checking your luggage, going through the search, and then getting to the gate, and even getting on board the airplane. The only thing that this would unlikely do is perform customs operation. So the idea with this is to make sure that obviously we have secure systems that will provide this kind of support to passenger services. So a couple examples here of cloud computing or digitization that's being used around the world. So we're using big data and cloud computing to analyze airport capacity in choke points. So that's another use for it, in addition to the facial recognition, or using cloud computing to provide off-airport checking stations for passengers. So say you come off a cruise, you get off the cruise, you can actually check in from the ship before you actually leave the ship, and then when you get to the airport, you're all checked in. You just need, and your luggages are tagged and everything, and you just need to, and the bus would probably would stand by, your trailer would stand by. You put your luggage there, and once you go to the airport, you get to the airport, and you can just go through all the places you need to, and then get to your gate. Decarbonization, so sustainable aviation fuel. So basically, there's a number of projects that have been put in place over the last few years to actually put that in place. So Canada, along with other partners around the world, that's something that's been in their cards for many years. So in 2018, there's a challenge that was launched by the government called Sky's the Limit Challenge. Okay, and the idea is to develop made in Canada sustainable aviation fuel that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, that production had to be lower cost and have a good potential for commercialization and scaling of that commercialization. So increased production, not just have it in terms of a test piece and then can produce it in large amounts. Air Canada announced its participation in Canada's Biojet Supply Chain Initiative, and in 2018 they were able to blend sustainable aviation fuel, biofuel, with regular fuel on board a flight leaving Toronto Pearson. Today we have the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Plus Consortium, and they've announced that the first production of aviation power-to-liquids in North America. It is a synthetic kerosene with a carbon footprint that's 80% less than the regular fossil kerosene that we're using today, and they're shooting to have it hit the market in 2025. How does that work? This sustainable aviation fuel cannot be used by itself. It has to be mixed with regular jet fuel, hence not the 100% reduction. So when you have small amounts of, when you have an airport with a small amount of fuel being consumed, then that fuel would get blended just before it gets delivered to the airport tank farm. If you use it in larger quantities, then in order to save time, then obviously you could pre-blend it and then have a final blend before you deliver it to the airport. Obviously, that means the development of a refinery where you can actually refine the fuel. So it's additional steps, but in the end, the idea is to make it still competitive in terms of price and reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Alternative aviation energy sources is also another way to actually look at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So I'll show you in a minute the various steps that electrification can be used for reducing the gas to reach a near zero gas emissions, because electrification is not necessarily applicable to all types of airplanes. So Airbus has developed a hydrogen combustion engine, gas turbine engine, that will use liquid hydrogen in terms of fuel and use that directly into its engine to actually power the engine directly. Boeing has looked at a fuel cell demonstrator. So basically, we're talking about generation of electricity through a hydrogen fuel cell. There are some challenges with hydrogen. Obviously, it's a gas, so there is some safety concerns that need to be looked at. There's so the storage, but also as we refuel it, and also as we create it, right? So in order to liquefy, we need a liquefaction facility that will for the cryogenic hydrogen use at airports. The physical delivery of hydrogen from tank to tank farm or liquefaction facility to the aircraft may also be challenging. So processes need to be put in place, and the switch from hydrogen to current, from the current fuel to hydrogen is also a bit of a challenge for engine manufacturers. But right now, there's a lot of companies like Pratt & Whitney that are working with Boeing, Airbus, Bombardier to actually develop the aircraft and the storage on the aircraft, which is a challenge in itself, to actually use engines that will be powered directly using liquid hydrogen. So electrification here. So there's a huge trend on electrification. So right now, fully electric aircraft are anticipated, more or less, right? Are anticipated to be used on smaller airplanes and maybe up to 9 PAX aircraft, just because at this point in time, to get some kind of autonomy, you need larger batteries. Large batteries mean weight, means less time in the air. So there's all these elements that need to be considered. So you already have a number of aircraft that are used for pilot training. Pipistrel is being used in Southern California, has been used for a couple of years already. Pipistrel aircraft is coming to flight schools in Canada. There is some grants and loans that governments have put in place to support procurement of electric aircraft for pilot training. And we have a number of small aircraft also that have been developed or are in development. Harbor Air in the US, in Victoria, is also looking at electric Beaver ready for certification in a couple of years. Alice is also a 9-passenger airplane that is being that has been purchased and that its certification is being finalized right now, and it's going to be used by a US-based company in Massachusetts called Cape Air. They've already ordered 92 of those aircraft, $4 million each. But they figure that this is going to be the future of their operations out of Cape Cod. Some challenges with electrification, so it's okay. Apart from the actual manufacturing for airports, that means that what you need to make sure you have is enough electricity to actually generate the electricity that you need to charge these airplanes. So currently, every facility has the limitation that's determined by their operations. So we need to develop efficient battery recharging processes, safety procedures that need to be put in place, standardization of charging protocols and procedures, and ensuring that we are able to meet the electricity requirements from the grid. We talked about urban air mobility. Not sure if we have the same number, Brandon and I, but basically the trend is that the world population of cities is going to be greatly increased over the next few years. So that increase of population means increased traffic, reduction of efficiency in terms of traveling. So urban air mobility would be a great asset in transporting people from somewhere in the city to the airport, for instance, or to work, and then from the airport to other locations, whether there is in a given proximity or not. And then some of the urban air mobility platform would provide longer distance capability where they could travel between cities or nearby cities and offer some regional air travel. So we look at different technologies. Brendan, I'm sorry I don't have yours in here, but I have a few that exist right now around the world. So whether they've been created by Airbus, by Ehang, which is a Chinese company, or by Boeing, then some of these already exist and are being tested. Bell Helicopter is also testing one of those. Some infrastructure requirements here. So the platforms are one thing, but we need to have places to land in the city, places to land at airports. We need to have also to be able to integrate these machines into the air traffic management system, whether they are separate or whether they're integrated with the current air traffic management system. That's currently in development and being looked into by NAV Canada and Transport Canada. I just want to share with you a couple case studies very quickly. We worked on a project a year and a half ago now, and the idea here was for this company that was transporting human organs from hospital to hospital across the US. They were engaged, and they're still engaged, and they've successfully actually done some of that, but they were engaged in automating and electrifying aircraft. So basically they've used aircraft. Their first step was to use existing helicopters that were gas powered, converted them to electric aircraft so they could do some testing, and parallel develop currently piloted assisted, but certainly remotely or certainly in time fully automated electrical vehicles that would leave the hospital with an organ, go to a hub at an airport where the organ would be transferred for a longer distance to be traveled using a combination of vertical fixed wing type vehicle. reach the other hub where it would be transferred onto another VTOL to actually deliver for final delivery of that organ to the destination hospital. So here, what you see on the right here is an actual design of of electric recharging pad. So there's a couple stations at the right that are for the small VTOL that would come from the hospital to the airport. In the middle, you have the recharging pads for the fixed wings, and on the left here, just parking locations. At the top here, you see a couple columns. Those are actual charging capacitors at the edge of just outside the airport, because this was designed specifically for 2 airports in the US, so the design is slightly the same. So these 2 airports needed to actually put in place those capacitors and also work with the local electricity company to actually deliver the right amount of electricity so that these capacitors could be charged, so that we could provide the aircraft with the right amount of recharge in a short period of time, with the understanding at this point in time with the electricity company that some electricity could be sold back to the grid depending on the periods of use. So there's a whole process here. There's a whole set of negotiations that were recorded here, and this project is well underway. The only thing that they can't do right now is fully automated flights, but they already have developed a network of airports on the eastern seaboard with whom we have worked to actually present the business cases, because this is also potential sources of revenue, although there is an investment that's required. So I think I've said everything here. And the other case I want to show is we've worked with an airport in St. Hubert to actually put in place an innovation hub. The idea here is that create a zone where you would have together manufacturers, you'd have together research organizations, universities, and add on a living component to this. So apartments for students, apartments for workers, entertainment facilities, and so on. And all these places, all these components of that innovation zone linked from one place to the other using automated electric vehicles. Again, using the airport, some airport land to create some airport revenues. And at the same time, developing an ecosystem that provides larger opportunities for development of new aerospace products. And this is what it would look like. So terminal here where we would develop airport type technologies. The white buildings exist. The blue buildings are housing. The green buildings are research facilities or laboratories where companies come together to develop do their development. And the beauty of this is that within those laboratories, we would have equipment that could be shared among the various companies. And that's very attractive for companies and for research organizations, because otherwise that means everybody has to buy their own equipment. Here, if you can share the equipment, you can reduce the development cost. And this is all I have this morning.
Thanks, Norman. It's it really opens our eyes to the possibilities for Peterborough's aviation aerospace community and the airport. So, any questions for Norm today on this exciting presentation? I guess, Norm, a question I would have just for our audience today, when you think about who's attending today between the supply chain and manufacturers and college universities, aerospace companies, So locally, how can we jump on the bandwagon? So we've heard this morning some exciting development both from Brandon and from you. So how can our local community get involved to be a part of all this?
Well, I think we have to start looking ahead and looking at what the role the airport has, and you know the first parts, and we see that in many of the projects that we run, is the first step that many airports are choosing to take is being ready for plugging in electric vehicles, but electric aircraft as well. So starting discussions with the electrical companies so that we can be ready when the time comes. That certainly would be one element. I presented here the innovation zone here. That's certainly a concept that's very exportable. And in a place like Peterborough, for instance, where you already have a reasonable hub, then that's something that can be built on to actually create something similar to that.
Thanks. That's great to hear and well said. So we do have some really dynamic companies both on and off the airport here that can contribute to that, as well as your institutions. Is there any other questions for Norm? Not seeing any in the chat. Thanks, Norm, very much for your time today and your exciting presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll just keep moving along here. Next, I'd like to introduce Scott Stewart, who is a fixture here on the airport and in the community. So Scott is the president of Blows and Stewart Travel Group Limited, which is BSG Vacation, and president of Stewart Aviation here at the Peterborough Airport. Scott is a born leader, and his business instincts have served him well over the years in all business endeavors. He has a willingness to take calculated risks, to believe in new ideas, and to encourage and empower his staff to achieve the objectives and goals. He has always said of running a small business, I've learned that if you want to be successful, you must be prepared to be the employee, the banker, the lawyer, the accountant, the salesman, the marketing manager, negotiator, spokesperson, floor sweeper, and chief bottle washer. And I think we've seen him do all that. You cannot afford to be too proud to ask for help and take on any task, no matter how big or small. His success simply comes down to being able to work with people and to get the job done. In 2014, the travel business marked its 40th year in business, and to celebrate the amazing business milestone, BST chartered the first 737 aircraft to ever fly from the Peterborough Airport for a long weekend celebration in New York City. The idea was very well received, and the charter sold out within 24 hours. This was the start of BST's Peterborough Departure Program and how BST became involved with the airport and eventually Stewart Aviation. Scott was born many years ago and here in Peterborough, and was raised here and spent his entire professional career working here. He sits on many boards for the travel industry, such as TICO and Travel Industry Board of Ontario, and has been involved in many board of directors locally, Peterborough Sales and Ad, Kiwanis Club, etc. He is also a passionate volunteer, and in 2012 raised over $100,000 for the PRHC Foundation, doing a high-profile climb of Mount Kilimanjaro, I can't speak today, in Tasmania to support the build of the radiation bunker here at the hospital, local hospital. Scott has been married to his wife, Allison, for 35 years and is proud parents to Alyssa and Sam. Thank you, Scott, and welcome.
Good morning. And Trent, hopefully you can hear me and everybody can see my screen. First of all, thank you, Trent, Lisa, Kyle, everyone for the invite. It's pretty special to be part of today's presentation, especially after 20 months of COVID and being part of an industry that's been the hardest hit globally. And I'm proud to say that we're still here and we've still got great plans ahead of us. I'm going to get started here right on this first screen, and basically it's the whole succession of Stewart travel group to Stewart Tours, and then basically into Stewart Aviation and what we're doing there. I'm going to concentrate primarily on Stewart Aviation, but I think it's important that you understand how we got to Stewart Aviation. And I'm just going to go to my next screen here, which it will not let me do. Sorry, guys. For some reason, it's not letting me. Just be 1 second here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this should work now. Perfect, thank you. So basically, family-owned, operated, full-service travel agency with our head office in Peterborough. We merged in 2019 with another family group of agencies, which was 72 years old, and with us now currently being 47. In 2 years, we'll be celebrating 125 years in family retail and wholesale travel. The merger allowed us to be the largest retailer in Canada under the, at that time, Carlson Bogmanley Travel banner. And we currently sit in Ontario under 2,300 registrants in the top 5 in gross sales. So in the retail world, we're one of the larger players. Our retail business basically consists of leisure travel, corporate meetings and events, specialty groups, air crews, hotels, cars, yachts, riverboats, villas, and we're very proud of having the ability to work with the Royal Bank of Canada in their RBC Rewards program, and we are the largest awarding and redeeming partner that they have through the network. So basically, what that did is it created then our ability to expand yet again into our Stewart Tours and our charter program, which we did in 2014, and started flowing with that first charter that Trent had mentioned in my bio. Pre-COVID, we had actually chartered 10 different destinations, 14 different departures, over 1,900 passengers, which, believe it until you sit going through, you don't realize just the magnitude of what we were able to accomplish in a very, very short period of time, all pre-COVID. And we had been utilizing primarily Boeing 737-400 aircraft, which allowed us to put on the destination anywhere between 125 people to 150 people out of Peterborough, based on weight airport that we were arriving and going to. And in 2020, we were expanding into the Barrie Simcoe market and had the ability to make an arrangement with that airport to take our charter program to another regional airport and do everything there. From that, and all of everything that we were utilizing from our passengers and fueling and disembarkation, embarkation, our entire electronics-free check system from your car, that kind of created and led us down the Stewart Aviation and our ability to be a fixed-based operator at Peterborough Airport. And hard to believe that that was in 2018, and we celebrated on October 1st our third anniversary. And has been right from day one in 2014 when I saw what was happening at the Peterborough Airport, and it is truly a hidden jewel in our catchment area. Believe it or not, with passengers traveling on our air charters, from Kingston all the way to basically Scarborough, Pickering, and North Alberta. And there's approximately 2.4 million people that reside in that catchment area, and we believe that that is our primary catchment. The company diversification, sustainability, opportunity to differentiate ourselves, growth and expansion. We never stop, and it's our ability to be creative. And when there's an opportunity, we will work with others, synergize, and we'll continue to evolve both on the airport as well as different opportunities that we can do with other regional airports that continually call us and ask for our knowledge of them. And of course, all comes back down to the airport itself and our governing bodies and the city's willingness and desire to continue to promote and expand our services at the airport. This kind of just a snapshot to sort of bring the whole thing together on Stewart Aviation alone. And if we go straight to 12 o'clock directly north, one of the most important hexagonal as all the way around is our private charters and periodic services, which we'll get into in a minute. 737 tours, 400s, and great news on 700 series. Other air carriers that we work with and we continue to lure to Peterborough Airport, the FBO itself, fuel commitment, and future infrastructure and jobs, and what that will do for us. So basic private charters and their periodic services is basically everything from going through this pandemic and people still needing to fly to places in Florida or the US because they own properties and they just needed to get away and they wanted to make sure. So we have been brokering through other carriers to ensure that we can put 2 people on an aircraft, 8 people on an aircraft, 30 people on a, and we've been doing that over the last 16 months, bringing people in and out of the very quietly and having them the ability to get to those places that they need to. Also, with our continued training and the expansion of operational issues, we continue to be a main player with D&D. We just went through a full audit with them last month, and we passed with colors. And it was absolutely phenomenal experience. We do this every 2 years, so we're elated that we've been able to do that. We continue to push sporting teams and cargo and all of that necessity. And all of these pictures are actual to Peterborough Airport. None of this is been downloaded. So this is stuff that we're doing all the time. We're continually looking at other opportunities that we can share and push and make sure that Peterborough is known and that there's the ability of ideas to come to our area and the willingness of all of us to ensure that we're willing to help and do what we need to ensure that it's a successful ability. So our 737 tours primarily so far all been with the 400 series aircraft. Certainly you saw that there was a Porter plane, and we continue to talk to carriers all the time. But I truly do mean this sincerely, that YPU is the envy of also regional and secondary airports. And why? Because of the willingness, because of our passenger services. This came up with this hairband idea back a few years ago, but being able to take it from initial concept to reality, the only drive-through check-in airport in the world that we know of, completely hands-free, all electronic, all of our systems, software, our reporting has all been signed off by CBSA, Guard of Security, Homeland Security, as well as U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. as well as all the different airlines that we've been able to use. Obviously, we have a great partner in Canadian North, and Canadian North is our preferred carrier for 2022, with 8 new destinations that we brought up, and it's already selling. How does this compare to pre-COVID? The growth obviously was calculated to take risks based on the industry, and obviously in the province of Ontario, we are a regulated industry controlled by the province of Ontario. So there's only so many things that you can do to be able to get as far down the road as you want. So typically ran 3 to 4 charters per year to start building the data and the base and make sure we streamline. Come to the marketplace in 2022 with 8 charters is, well, we're going big or going home. And I think that that's what we need to be able to share with everybody today. Other air carriers that we're continuing to bring into Peterborough, and ever want to be judged that we're trying to control passenger travel out of Peterborough Airport, that's far from the truth. We want to bring every carrier that we can into Peterborough Airport so that they can see and experience firsthand exactly what Peterborough can offer. We've got a long way to go, but these are all some of the companies that have been flying into Peterborough, taken over 3 years ago. And we will continue to work with them. We'll continue to lure other airlines into Peterborough. But of course, we have to start somewhere, and we have to acknowledge the fact that we still got some infrastructure needs that to be done from a holistic standpoint. And now with the changes made into the airport, whether it be with the new committee that's been formed, or Kyle coming on board as the new superintendent, and the ability and knowledge that we'll be able to get Peterborough on the map and continue to push it forward. But we're pretty excited to see partners that we've been able to lure already to our great jewel. Fuel is a huge part of what we do. And what we've been able to accomplish in a very, very short period of time is when we took over the fixed base operator and FBO and all of the apron management rights at the airport, we had a lot of work to do. We knew we were behind the 8 ball, and we acquired and got the ability to come in and take over operations, and made a significant amount of changes in a very short period of time. Obviously, knowing that we had a fuel farm issue, the first way we could rectify to be able to service the existing clients on premise, as well as be able to grow future, and that was our ability to update all 4 trucks, going from and basically adding over 30% more fuel on site, both in gas and jet fuel, to ensure that we could buy better for our customer base, as well as that we would have enough fuel on board the premises, whether it was above ground or below ground, to ensure that our customers, whether it be a Summit airline that came in, a Molinor, Canadian North 737 aircraft, let alone Flying Colors in their new expansion that they've done. So it was very important for us to be able to jump onto that until we were able to do something with the actual farm itself. Being a fixed-based operator basically has anything and everything. And earlier on, we have to be the chief bottle washer and everything from sweeping the floors. You'll notice that we've got full de-icing capabilities. We've invested significantly in equipment, upgrades, new opportunities. We're now also at the FBO. We have special hotel rates for guests and passengers. We are the 8 for Hertz rental car and have the ability on site. Catering, our new cargo and baggage rental division, as well as renting at Gellers. So the list just continues to go on and on. The other thing we were really, really proud of was our ability to source for the needs of what's coming. And the minister just flew in last month on during election on an Air Canada had no stairs. We have air stairs or baggage conveyor capabilities. So we were able to source that, bring those pieces of equipment into Peterborough, and again, allow the Prime Minister and his entire crew. There was approximately 65 individuals on that departure. Showcase what Peterborough can do in a very, very short period of time, and very excited about that entire thing. The last hexagonal was our building and infrastructure. Obviously, COVID has set back the travel industry as globally 3 to 5 years, and it all depends on who and in what sector you basically provide, whether it's air or terminals, FBOs, retail, wholesale, group tours, whatever. So it's all going to come down to how fast we can recover. But the last 20 months has been significant in our entire industry. So on April the 15th, 2020, which was exactly 4 weeks after we went into emergency in the province of Ontario in Canada, we were going to break ground for a new environmentally sustainable fuel farm, all above ground, doubling our fuel capacity, both in trucks as well as tanks, and the ability to expand that as we need to, whether it be part of a distribution channel or also working with clients on site to be able to defuel aircraft, as well as hold those fueling in different compartments for the safety of all concerned. Continue to evaluate that as well, and obviously the terminal for 150 people was not what it was intended to be, and we've had the ability to be able to work with the Loomis Group and the airport management facilitate large numbers of people through a small space, and it has been able to work. Everybody, I don't think anybody knows the word no, and it's always yes, and we find out ways to do this. But 5 years ago, we had done a complete business case on a new facility, hangar space, office space, and the ability to transport a minimum of 2 737 aircraft at the same time, both inbound and outbound. And the creation and drawings of new hangar space, terminal space, office space. And I'm pleased to say that although we're just getting our feet underneath us from COVID, we have hired a third party to evaluate both of those projects post-COVID to ensure that our business plan, business cases, and all of our information is still current. Obviously, Lake Simcoe Regional Airport is on here simply because we will move back to expansion to Lake Simcoe. We are in the with them, continue to keep them in the loop, and hoping if our initial response to our 2022 charters continues to progress in the manner in which it is, we're hoping to be back in Lake Simcoe Airport airport sooner than later. I think it's also important to know and understand too that we're always looking at different opportunities, and our ability to take ideas, see them through, has been really, I guess, an advantage for us. And this past summer, we expanded to be consultants, as well as went to smaller regional airports with fuel farms above ground, go in, make recommendations, do training, as well as evaluate their entire process from safety and standards to ensure that we can put in. We're one of the only FBO operators in the entire world fuel network that created its own software for fuel management, distribution, and how we operate. And no, it's in the ground, above the ground, went into an aircraft, all instant, and all being done electronically. I just wanted to show what the departures are for 2022. In May, we're in New Orleans, and I'm pleased to say we're half sold, so there's a limited space in there. Nashville is over half sold out on the May 26th. Newfoundland is already sold out, and if you remember, we launched 2022 schedule right after the Labor Day weekend in September. So we've had some great traction in less than 6 weeks. Cape Breton, August, second departure in Nashville. In September, Atlantic City, Savannah, Georgia. And I mentioned to you earlier about our negotiations with Canadian North and our ability for 700 series aircraft. And I'm so excited to announce that tomorrow, and you guys get to see it first, tomorrow we're launching our 8th destination for 2022, utilizing a 700 series aircraft, which now gets us long haul out of Peterborough Airport. So that opens up a whole nother world for us for 2023. And we want to be able to showcase this aircraft to take us to Las Vegas, baby, in October of 2022. This will open the door for a whole new myriad of destinations for us, but it will also prove that our 7,000 runway has ability to do what we need it to do and showcase ourselves to other carriers. Hopefully we can draw some business in from where we need. And my last slide, and a huge thank you to everybody. I am more than thrilled with the entire team at Stewart Aviation. And you have to remember, we took it over 3 years ago, and we've been in a year and a half of COVID. And in 2020, we were awarded a Global Operational Excellence Award from World Fuels. And we were elated that we are one of a very small group of FBOs and fuel providers recognized globally for our efforts. And that's pretty much it. And thank you for your time. And I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks so much, Scott. It's like just yesterday we sat in the restaurant and you floated the idea about the travel, the trips, 737s, and I said, why not? The other thing that people may not know about Mr. Stewart is his ability to wing it. A lot of exciting stuff happens here at the airport, and the ability for them to adapt on the fly has been amazing. So, any questions for Mr. Stewart? All right. Thanks for your presentation. And I think what we'll do is give everybody just a 10-minute break. If you could make sure you come back, because we have 2 exciting speakers left before we close out today's event. So we'll take 10 minutes and come back at 10 to 11. And thanks so much for your participation so far. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We'll get started with our next speaker, and I'll have Kyle come on and introduce Kate Ahrens from Flying Colors.
Great, thank you, Trent. I'd like to introduce Kate Ahrens, VP of Corporate Development with Flying Colors. As a VP for Flying Colors, the International Aviation Services Company, Kate is the interface between the Peterborough headquarters business and local, regional, provincial, and government organizations and associations. Having worked at Flying Colors for more than 2 decades and as a member of the owning family, Kate's knowledge of the business supports the initiation and implementation of close commercial partnerships to fulfill near and long-term strategic goals. Working closely with the executive team, she also identifies and assists development initiatives resulting in successful joint ventures and strategic relations that support the long-term growth of the company. During her time at Flying Colors, Kate has held positions in business development as former VP for interior design and has been a strong part of the Flying Colors leadership team. She holds a business administration degree taken at Trent University and completed a variety of design courses. She enjoys spending free time with her family, engaging with local women in business, supporting the PRHC Foundation with the ambassadors, as well as various other grassroots organizations. Thanks very much for being with us today, Kate, and over to you.
Thanks, Kyle. I'll attempt to share my screen here. Okay. You can't see me. All right. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thanks again for having me here today. I am going to give you a brief overview of Flying Colors and an update over the last 12 months. For those in the meeting today who are not familiar with Flying Colors, we are the anchor tenant at Peterborough, the Peterborough Airport, and we have 2 other locations, one in St. Louis, Missouri, and one in Singapore. We just have over 450 employees worldwide, and we pride ourselves on being a one-stop shop, and for our customers offering a wide range of aircraft services. We have been in business for almost 40 years, and we complete mid to large size business aircraft. We are a Bombardier authorized service facility and preferred completion center for their completions and warranty. We have trained certified technicians for fixed wing, turboprop, and rotary aircraft. We are an authorized service and distributor for Collins Aerospace, Honeywell, C&D Aerospace, Safran, GoGo, Viastat, BE Aerospace, Satcom Direct, and others. Our in-house capabilities for engineering include mechanical, stress, and electrical. And our current projects right now we're working on are mainly the Q400, special missions, multi-completion, and configuration, as well as the Global 7500 VIP completions and the Global 6500 VIP completions, as well as special missions. We also have a variety of mid-range refurbishments and exterior paint projects in-house. During the last 12 months, we have welcomed a cascade of new projects driven by regular customers and an increase of new ones. Our state-of-the-art paint shop that you can see in the picture here opened in 2019 and has been operating continuously ever since. In August of this year, we finished our most interesting paint application for our Gulfstream 650. I mention this particular project as it clearly demonstrates our team's incredible expertise. On the completion of this Gulfstream 650 fuselage, it boasts a sparkling mica pearl diamond mine base coat surface combined with an intricate design incorporating curving stripes and complicated swirling patterns. The multifaceted process was incredibly complex, requiring technical expertise and intense attention to detail to achieve this fuselage with maximum ramp impact. The owner was so happy he's going to bring it back for a full refurbishment. The pandemic has clearly affected our business. Like many others, we face challenge of having team members isolate. We've experienced delays with supply chain. Yet as a federally regulated business that is considered essential, we kept operating. And we needed to do that. In the business aviation community, we've experienced real highs and lows during this last 18 months. We have found it to be essential as it has been able to provide medevac and PPE, as well as filling the gaps left by the grounding of commercial airlines. And now as we move towards a near post-pandemic status, business aviation is reaching almost the same levels of movements and transactions since 2007. The industry's largest North American business aviation show took place in mid-October, and all the headlines talked about the uptick in sales and the increased number of movements. So this is very positive. So this means a busy period for Flying Colours. On the maintenance side, while the world was completely grounded this past year, owners and operators took advantage of the downtime to move maintenance schedules forward or take advantage of the time to upgrade and refurbish their cabins. One of our key customers saw a rise in sales, and consequently, our completion business has seen a continuous stream of large cabin, ultra long range business jets from Bombardier. The Global 6500 and 7500 passing through our hangars. They come in green and leave looking beautiful, as you can see in the photos here. As more and more travelers have realized the value of business aviation for its ability to reduce exposure to COVID, and for its ability to fly routes no longer available commercially, and for its discretion and convenience, so that the number of purchases has also increased. Just to give you an idea, the international pre-owned inventory is at its lowest ever, with only 5% of the global fleet for sale. Many aircraft don't even make it to market as a deal is done offline. For buyers, this is a real challenge, but brokers do provide a solution. In the airjet sector of the aviation of the business, where guaranteed hours of flights are booked in bundles each year, the providers, namely NetJets and VistaJets, have temporarily paused their programs for new customers. They simply don't have enough aircraft to service the demand. One of the key benefits for Flying Colours compared to other MROs is that we have the capability to do everything at a single location. This means the amount of downtime is reduced, and in the current landscape, that is essential for owners and operators. We have also received a number of requests to convert aircraft that were once regional jets into corporate shuttles, as you can see in the picture. This is so companies can move their management around in their own time and in secure cabins. We anticipate this to increase in the future. We also have been kept busy with our special missions projects. With special missions, the original airframe is leveraged to perform above and beyond the original spec and is adapted for the unambiguous specific role. The very particular requirements will result in an aircraft which has undergone changes related to space, range, onboard equipment, payload, reliability, and robustness. The platform alters the DNA to become perfectly designed to execute a particular task. In the last 6 months, we have completed the 5th Saab Global Eye, as you can see in the picture, which is an airborne early warning and control solution, which is attractive to worldwide governments and is based on the Global 6500 aircraft, but has been modified for its specific purpose. We do see more need for this in the future, and we're already in discussions with other customers for further projects. Another project for us we've been completing is the 4th in a series of 6 Q400MR multi-purposed aircraft, which effectively delivers the client 5 aircraft in one. Flying Colours is responsible for the engineering, fabrication, installation, certification, and completion of 4 different cabin interiors to support passenger, cargo, combi transport, and medevac special missions. On completion of the interior, a 5th firefighting capability is equipped by our fellow Canadian aviation business, Conair. The ability to easily change the aircraft's purpose within a quick time frame maximizes operational efficiency and costs. in a diverse range of operating environments. With the increase of wildfires worldwide, we are anticipating that we will be involved in modifying many more firefighting aircraft. So looking to the future trends, we are noticing the increased importance of digitization for aircraft. Connectivity used to just mean enabling the passengers to call back to the office, but now connectivity enables rich data transmission, supporting video conferencing, emailing, voice and text capability, streaming TV for passengers, and data is also becoming an integral part of recording aircraft performance. So every conversation we have with a refurbishment is always including the conversation about connectivity options, and our team really has become experts in this field. The digitization revolution in aviation is here, and we are advising our clients to take advantage of this service. Finally, we are seeing another trend, obviously with COVID being the hot topic, focused on wellness in the skies. So the pandemic has made travelers much more aware of their health when traveling, and we are seeing OEMs, even interior designers and manufacturers, creating products that promote wellness. We are an authorized reseller and installer for Aviation Clean Air. The ionized system kills pathogens, including the novel coronavirus in the air and on surfaces throughout the aircraft, as well as eliminating odors and allergens to enhance the overall air quality to make air travel safer. We also just installed a humidification system to update cabin humidity and are noticing that we are receiving more requests for this product to help with overall wellness as well. So this just gives you a brief conclusion of kind of where we're at for Flying Colors, and I will open it up at this time to any questions. Oh my God.
Incredible presentation. Any questions for Kate? I guess while we're seeing if there's any questions, Kate, I guess my question would be what's next for Flying Colors? If you look out the next 2 to 5 years and you're hearing about all the technology changes this morning, is there anything in the works that would lead you down the path of some of this, the exciting changes to aviation?
Thanks, Trent. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of, sorry, I'm just trying to get my camera back on, but it's not liking that. But we're seeing a lot of trends with refurbishment right now. 50% of our business, we operate with Bombardier Aerospace on the green side of things for mainly the 6500 and 7500. But we're seeing a lot of trends to update aircraft refurbishment, mainly in pre-buy inspections and through customers that have had their airplane for over 10 years, especially in the wellness side of things. So I think that's going to be a big trend, and connectivity. They're finding their business aircraft such a tool in the air, and there's not a lot of time for travel. So they're really using their aircraft as a second office, if you will. So I think those are two trends that we're seeing a lot of, and as well as, like I mentioned, the special missions. Special missions aircraft, I think, are only going to become more of our everyday customer for us, and really having that multi-configuration and giving them options to improve efficiencies.
Well, it's incredible. That's awesome. And right here in Peterborough, which is exciting. Any other questions for Kate?
Trent, I do have a question. This is Norm here.
Hi, Norm. Go ahead.
So Kate, just had a question, and you said that you do all engineering for your specialized mission aircraft. Do you have the engineering capabilities in the house, or do you outsource that?
We do both, Norman. Good question. We have quite a bit of in-house capability both in Peterborough and St. Louis. However, it's hard to attract engineers to Peterborough, so it's still an ongoing process that we're working with. But we would like to hire 20 more yesterday, and I think that's a problem in aerospace in general. However, we do have both. We do have to access outside engineering capabilities as well, just because we don't have enough people.
And I assume it's the same for DAR services, or do you have an internal inside DAO?
That's correct. We have to access outside right now, just because we can't find them.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Norm. Any final calls for questions for Kate? Excellent. Kate, once again, thanks for your time today. It's everybody looks forward to the Flying Colors update, so thanks so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is great. And thanks to all the speakers. They were wonderful.
Thank you. So moving along to our final speaker of the day, we are also excited to have another local family company speak today about what's happening with their industry. So Jordan Laverly, Director of Business Development for Cadex Aero Supply. So before joining Cadex, Jordan worked in national marketing for Red Bull Energy Drink for 6 years in Toronto. Jordan joined Cadex as an outside sales representative, managing new customer acquisition and account development, traveling across Canada and the US. Recently, Jordan moved to Business Development Director and oversees sales growth and development, new manufacturer relationships, including the most recent, the addition of PPG, Goodyear, and Shell Aviation. So again, I'd like to welcome Jordan, and it's been great to see Cadex grow here on the airport over the years as well. Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks, Trent. I am currently in Toronto at the Ontario AME Association maintenance conference here at the Delta Hotel just near Pearson. So thanks for having me. I was able to jump on during the show. So a little bit about Cadex, if you're unfamiliar. We are a OEM and aftermarket parts distributor based at the Peterborough Airport with our head office there. Been our head office for about 27, 28 years. We have 3 locations now, Calgary, Alberta being our western location. Both Peterborough and Calgary have about 10,000 square feet for warehouse space. And then we just added Winnipeg, Manitoba as a third-party fulfillment location. So with these 3 locations, we're able to ship parts to our customers across the country in a timely fashion. We have about 42 full-time staff across the country, some working remotely. I work remotely in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, full-time, and travel back and forth to Peterborough or our Calgary locations, or onto the US or to see customers in Canada. We're a full parts distributor for OEM parts from Beechcraft and Cessna, the Textron group, and then aftermarket PMA approved parts. We represent over 60 manufacturers. We'd sell over 120 manufacturers, but fly the flag for about 60. Some of those manufacturers include PPG Aerospace for windshields and sealants, Goodyear Tire, Concord Batteries, Whalen Lighting for LED and incandescent lighting assemblies, Ice Shield de-ice boots, and Aeroshell, just to name a few. We have seen a lot of growth. So recently, we're probably stocking over 150,000 parts at our locations. And we touch on pretty much every sector of aviation. So we get to see everybody across the industry. And that's from general aviation to the AMOs, the MROs, the repair stations, business aviation, medevacs, special missions, aerial spray, the military, regional and commercial airlines, helicopter operators, and a lot of industrial customers too. So we keep busy and we enjoy the diversity and the variety of what we get to do every day, right from the Peterborough Airport, and it keeps it very exciting. As far as COVID and how that's affected our business, it definitely slowed down during the peak times as a number of the regional and commercial airlines parked a lot of their planes. But actually, general aviation picked up for the most part. For people that privately own their own airplanes, they decided to fly a lot more since there wasn't much else they could do. And then private owners weren't flying airlines, so they're flying their own aircraft. And then coming out of COVID, airlines are starting to see a return to service, which is great. And We are adding more staff for sales and marketing and operations at all our locations. And we're seeing new manufacturers come to us to help them grow their market share in the country of Canada and North America as a whole. So some exciting times here for KDEX. And yeah, I'll open the floor to any questions or anything you may have. Sorry I didn't have a presentation, and yeah.
Thanks, Jordan. Just open the floor. Any questions for KDEX and relating to Jordan's presentation or anything else that you want to know? Jordan, just maybe just a quick question, because I know you've been rapidly growing over the years. What's your workforce numbers at approximately right now?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of growth recently with some industry changes as far as other suppliers moving out of kind of our the supply industry. We've added, we're up to a total of 42 employees, and we have many positions open currently. So we're looking to get to about 45 or 46 here very soon.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Any, sorry, just seeing here. So some questions. So in terms of needed skills, do you have a specific positions that graduates may be interested in exploring?
Yeah, we are always hiring sales staff. We're looking for a sales position at our Calgary location right now, full time. We're also looking for some operations, which I can't remember exactly what position, but yeah, currently sales is a big one for us.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Any other questions for Jordan? Okay, well, thanks so much for your time today, Jordan, and it's always great to get an update from KDEX, so thank you, and best of luck at the show.
No worries. Thanks, Trent.
So we're heading a bit ahead of schedule, but before I close off, I'd just like to open the floor. Does anybody that's on the call today have any comments, questions, suggestions, anything that keeps the conversation moving with regards to today's themes? Okay, so I have some comments to close off the remarks, and I like to do this every year. Just, what did I get out of today's sessions? And I hope that you were able to get some valuable information and explore some possible opportunity. I would think that one of the things we heard today is a lot about the environment. So there's some really innovative things that are happening with regards to cutting edge technology to help with the environment and moving forward. So very appreciative of those discussions. The research that's going on, the conversations that are happening are all very encouraging. Also, just the need for talent. So we're hearing this in every industry, and aviation and aerospace is no different. We have the need for skilled labor. We have the need for sales. We have the need for engineering. So again, I think as a community and as a region, we really need to work hard together to try and attract those trades to our area so that we can keep our local companies growing. We also see the need for support from all levels of government. So if we as an airport and we as an aviation aerospace community are going to remain cutting edge, we really need to up our game, and we really need to seek out those opportunities to ensure that we are cutting edge and leading the way as we have been in the past. I have a few folks that want to make comments. So first off, Jeff McCarthy from Seneca College. The floor is yours, sir.
I can't see an option here to go on camera. Can you hear me, Trent?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jeff. Go ahead.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to thank you for hosting today, as well as Kyle and Lisa. My name is Jeff McCarthy. I am a dean at Seneca College. I've been with the college for over 12 years, and Seneca's aviation programs were recently added to my portfolio just a few weeks ago. I've been at the airport quite a few days over the past few weeks, and it's been very exciting to learn more about the Seneca programs more in depth, and as well about some of the partners. So really looking forward to getting to know the people that are involved with the Peterborough Airport. Thank you so much for the opportunity today. I was born and raised in Peterborough. I grew up actually 10 minutes down the road from the airport. So very excited to be reconnected to this, and really looking forward to meeting some of you and seeing how Seneca fits into the community there at the airport. I wasn't able to view all of the presentations today, but what I did see was very informative, and I just wanted to thank you for having us.
Thanks, Jeff, for those kind words. And just a note about the recording, about the presentations today. They were recorded, so we will be offering a link to distribute them so you can play them back or share with others. Also want to take a minute just to thank the team that pulled today's events together. So here in the airport, we have a business enablement team, BET team we call it, and it's made up of individuals from Peterborough Courses, Economic Development, City of Peterborough, the Lumix Group, and our related airport staff. And this group meets on a regular basis really to try and lean forward to expand our offerings at the airport and try and attract business here. So I want to thank that team, because it takes a village, as you know, to pull this stuff together. So thanks to everybody on that team. Kyle, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, Trent, I think we actually have a question that was directed towards Jordan, if he's still on.
Here.
Hey, Jordan. The question was, would you say that your company mainly supports business or individual aircraft owners? When you're marketing, do you market to both? Do you target both of those?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we would do a lot of both. Private, business. Like I said, we touch on all sectors. So as far as marketing and communication to those groups, it's all very different. Marketing to the airlines takes, certain trade shows we attend, and a lot of account development from our sales team, and then like business aviation and general aviation is a whole different trade show circuit and marketing program. So yeah.
Thanks very much, Jordan. I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out today, and certainly thank our presenters for taking the time to share the information on their companies and the changes that are happening. Just want to encourage everybody to keep the lines of communication open, and we're certainly excited about what the future brings for the airport and the community. So just want to say thank you to everybody.
Thanks, Kyle. And just on a party note, something happened this week during the rainy season here. I watched a young pilot. He flew through a rainbow, and I ran into him on the road, and he told me pass the flying colors. So I'll leave you with that. Have a great day, and we hope to see you next year. Thanks very much.